We built Haiti, North Carolina, and per usual, they destroyed it to erase us.
The Haiti neighborhood in Durham, North Carolina was established in the late 1860s. Shortly after the Civil War, ended in 1865, was one of the South's most successful black communities following the Civil War, founded by freedmen and named in honor of Haiti. Haiti flourished as a symbol of black resilience and self-sufficiency. By the early 1900s, it was home to more than 200 black-owned businesses, including the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance, the largest black-owned insurer in the U.S., and Mechanics and Farmers Bank. The community also had its own hospital, Lincoln Hospital, and cultural anchors like St. Joseph's AME Church and North Carolina Central University, known as the Black Wall Street of the South. Haiti was a center of black enterprise, education, and arts. However, the community's decline came not from within, but through government policy. In the 1960s, urban renewal projects and the construction of the Durham Freeway devastated Haiti. The freeway cut directly through the neighborhood, destroying homes, displacing families, and severing its economic and social heart. Promises to rebuild never came to fruition. Businesses collapsed, generational wealth was erased, and the once thriving community was fragmented.
Ma chercher force d'habitation, 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 ma chercher force d'habitation. Manek Port-au-Prince, sauf la Tibonite. Ma pe voler nou un district, pas manquer hypocrite. C'est grand Simon.
The Haitian Revolution is notable not just for its political and military aspects, but also for the significant role played by Vodou, a religion practiced by many slaves in Saint-Domingue. Vodou served as a unifying force for the enslaved Africans, fostering a sense of solidarity and shared purpose. The most famous event highlighting Vodou's importance was the Boy Caiman ceremony in August 1791, which is often considered the spiritual catalyst for the revolution. During this ceremony, led by Vodou priest Duddy Boukman and priestess Cecile Fadiman, participants made a pact to fight for their freedom, invoking the spirits to guide and protect them. This ritual galvanized the slaves, leading to a coordinated and fierce uprising against the brutal French colonial regime. Vodou rituals continued to play a crucial role throughout the revolution, providing spiritual sustenance and a sense of hope. The religion instilled courage and resilience, crucial elements in the long struggle for independence.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. Brought to you by, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD New Orleans International Voodoo Day. Our third annual International New Orleans Voodoo Day 2026, May 23rd and 24th, is promising to be an inspiring and immersive experience with a diverse lineup of engaging events. Highlights include an educational symposium featuring distinguished speakers from around the world, including a delegation of scholars and spiritual leaders from Benin and Haiti, as well as art exhibitions showcasing voodoo-inspired works by talented local and international artists. The event will also feature a children's program and an Afro-ecology exhibit exploring the sacred nature of plants in voodoo, their role in spiritual practices, and their connection to our ancestors. The weekend will culminate in a ceremonial procession to 9 significant sites throughout the city, locations where the enslaved were brought ashore, held, auctioned, and where they later found community and developed culture. This journey will begin at the transatlantic slave route to New Orleans marker on the moonwalk at the river and conclude with a traditional voodoo ceremony at Congo Square. Additionally, visitors can participate in interactive workshops, community discussions, and opportunities to connect with practitioners and cultural experts. This multifaceted celebration offers something for everyone, creating a meaningful space to honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future. We're certainly grateful and appreciative of your continued love and support and participation in this 9 p.m. Monday through Friday weeknight podcast. We certainly appreciate those who continue to show up live here in the chat. Thank you so much. Greetings, Lydia Morton. Thank you so much for being present. Ray Alexander, greetings and salutations to you and yours. And our beloved community member, Daniel Neal. We certainly do appreciate your continued love and support. Please do click the like, the heart, the $ at the bottom of your YouTube chat. We certainly appreciate resharing and sharing and promotion of this weeknight podcast. I will be unmuting my beloved co-host, Queen Mother Sister Toni Val Martinez, our beloved Elder Reggie, Green Soap, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, and our beloved Joshua Nylan Tanner, Wild Man for Black Hawk Voodoo, my armor bearer, and first priest for Hoodoo Central LLC and House of the Divine Prince. We have been discussing the effects of the Nat Turner slave revolt on the health and welfare of 19th century slaves in southeastern Virginia, as well as its effects throughout the South. In Virginia, life largely revolved around tobacco, and slave life almost entirely, although the jobs that slaves performed varied greatly, with similar plantations often having fairly fluid labor divisions. The work would have centered on the production of tobacco. Indeed, the main reason for slaves to have arrived in Virginia in the first place was for the cultivation of tobacco. And although most planters were only able to buy 1 or 2 slaves a year, tobacco, by its nature, is a labor-intensive crop. Aside from being back-breaking, close to the ground, the plant requires near constant tending. The cultivation of tobacco is tedious, monotonous, and continues throughout the year with few breaks due to the fact that after it is harvested, the leaves still must be dried, cured, and processed. The possible upside to the cultivation of tobacco for the slaves was the fact that it required that labor be dispersed over fairly large tracts of land and therefore maintain fairly low population density, which, as was previously discussed, is likely to have had positive health consequences. There were specific problems that came with the cultivation of tobacco. The primary reason for these problems was the curing and preparation of the tobacco leaves. The drying and curing of tobacco is a hot and dusty process conducted year-round in closed, poorly ventilated rooms. The dust from the tobacco curing process carried not just the typical respiratory hazards of dust, but also the dangerous nicotine of tobacco. This persistent exposure to high levels of nicotine can cause chronic nicotine exposure. The effects of chronic exposure to nicotine through tobacco dust have been studied in modern occupational settings, and there have been serious problems reported. Chief among the concerns is the respiratory issues can occur, such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder or COPD, rhinitis or rhinitis, rhinitis, rhinitis. These problems would almost certainly have taken a toll on health, although it is not clearly exact to what degree and whether this could cause decreased stature. In other parts of the South, mortality was high during periods when cotton prices were low. It is logical It is a logical extension that the same thing would likely be true of tobacco prices in Virginia. This may be because as commodity prices fell, slaves were forced to labor for increased hours and may have been more likely to be worked to death, as happened on sugar plantations closer here to Louisiana. And added to the labor of the tobacco growth for the plantation was the additional labor of working on the slaves' own subsistence plots and gardens. Much of this work would have been conducted by the old and the young. The young would have begun helping in the subsistence plots years before they would have been introduced into the formal labor force. This labor could have been an effect on childhood's health, as the demands of labor could, but the work in the plots would have been significantly less intensified or intense than field work. Therefore, the work in subsistence plots was resigned to the old, the young, and the disabled. This labor was required after having already put in a full day's work on the plantation and could include the production of tobacco independently for the slaves' personal use as well as to be sold in local markets. One of the most commonly evaluated and widely debated health indicators is stature. Stature is viewed as the summation of childhood nutrition minus the demands of labor and disease. Using stature as a method of examining the nutritional health of a population and comparing one's population's status to that of another population is one of the primary uses of stature in anthropology. Importantly, stature can be used not simply to compare nutritional well-being across space, but across time as well. There are, however, a number of environmental and hereditary factors that can cause variations in body size, and the biological development of a human being is always due to the interaction of both genes and the environment. The most important of the environmental factors in determining stature is nutritional health. And because stature directly assesses the health of the population to see how well they are living, it can be used in instances where currency was not used or other means of determining nutrition may fall short. Comless wrote in 1992, argues that methods such as measuring agricultural output can fall short because it shows only what was recorded officially. At its best, it can only show what was consumed in theory. The best way to overcome this limitation is by directly measuring the individual through anthropometry, anthropometry, since nutritional stature is reflected in growth. Two of the major reasons for growth retardation are disease and undernutrition, meaning an individual is not malnourished, but is not sufficiently nourished to achieve their full genetic height potential. This means not just getting enough calories, but getting all the requisite nutrients that a diverse group has to offer. The most often looked at and arguably most important nutritional factor is the amount and quality of protein in the diet. In general, the more protein in the diet, the taller the individual is likely to be, and the greater ease the individual has at living up to their genetic potential. And as I draw for a close this passage for today, it is important to note that while protein quality is highly important, quality and quantity, the quality is also crucial. There are 7 proteins that are crucial for humans to survive and thrive. While many other animals can synthesize proteins to be able to live off a single plant, humans cannot, and therefore must get the full contingency of proteins from their diet. As we discussed earlier, when there is a deficiency of a single protein, most often niacin or thiamine, a nutritional disease can result. The only readily available source of complete protein meaning that it contains all the proteins humans require, is meat. This is not to say that people are unable to get complete nutrition without meat, but that it just must be pieced together from the incomplete protein in the plant sources. Human growth and therefore stature is a highly complex process that requires the proper interaction of a large number of nutrients, much of which comes from our food. And as I open the mics for my beloved co-hosts and invite their participation in the conversation, I'm going to conclude with this. Borgen wrote in 1999, goes far as to argue that much of the difference in heights between populations is not due to differing genetic potential, but can be explained through variations in diet. And while Steckel wrote in 1994, found that wealthy Japanese children were on average shorter than equally well-fed off British children, others have pointed out that Chinese children have become taller over the past more than 60 years, and that this can be largely attributed to the increasing quality of the Chinese diet, with a greater emphasis on meat consumption. While there is a great deal of debate about many aspects of stature, it is widely agreed that proper nutrition, especially in terms of adequate protein, is essential for individuals to live up to their genetic potential. And we will continue on tomorrow discussing the genetic differences and effects that the slave population experienced. Greetings and come on in to my beloved co-host. Greetings, Bianca Johnson, a member of our community, a Temple member. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us tonight. We certainly do appreciate you. And we're going to also open the mic for Queen Mother Toni Val Martinez, Elder Reggie, known here as Green Soap, and Brother Joshua Nylan Tanner. Greetings, Bianca. How you doing, beloved?
I'm doing good. I had a little bit of trouble getting on there, but I finally figured it out. So I'm glad to be on here.
Well, we certainly appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on in. We've been discussing the effects of the Nat Turner revolt on the health and welfare of 19th century slaves in southeastern Virginia. And of course, it has its voodoo, hoodoo, conjure aspects that we managed to find a way of also bringing into the conversation. But we certainly appreciate you joining us tonight. Come on in, Sister Val.
Hey, hello everyone out there in the listening audience, Elder Reggie, Brother Joshua,
How you doing?
and Elder Reggie, everyone. Listening to that, I know one of the other big problems they had with nutrition was a thing called rickets. A lot of kids got rickets, and they got them well into after slavery. They got them in the sharecropping days. They got them in the 60s even. The only thing I know my mom used to combat that with was lemons and limes. And I remember one of those Cajun people we went out to see whenever we went out in the swamp. She would always bring a brown paper bag full of lemons to the female because they had a lot of dirty looking little children running around. But that's my opinion anyway. But lemons, and the rickets was where their bones didn't grow right and they couldn't walk, and it took them a long time to learn to walk when they were babies. So they had a lot of nutritional problems that went well past slavery also from poor nutrition still. What say you, Brother Joshua?
Good day, everybody. Always a blessing. How y'all doing this evening? And I was actually just looking at some stuff on tobacco. I know Ty brought up in the southeastern Virginia area, they was producing tobacco. Tobacco was a very was a crop that was sought after by the colonists, because that's not something that was actually grown in Europe, and they was using that for trade in the early times of developing this country that we live in now. But I was reading something. I just want to read it to you guys. It's about tobacco. So tobacco was first domesticated in ancient Peru, perhaps as early as 2,500 BC. It came to the North America much later as a domestic plant, and it required cultivation and, like you were saying, very careful cultivation. Evidently, some individuals in North America cultivated tobacco long before similar knowledge and skills were applied to food plants. But it was used as a regular value, a religious value, here by the American Indians, and for ritual practice. It was considered a sacred substance to the American Indians here during that same time of that cultivation and enslavement prior to that.
And people could die from nicotine poisoning too, from handling tobacco absorbed through their skin after long periods of time.
Yeah.
And also it was a plant that attracted a lot of bugs, and they didn't have pesticides back then. So the enslaved would literally be looking at leaves and hand picking worms off of the leaves that were eating the leaves of the tobacco plant. And that could be a long, painstaking endeavor. And that was also something that brought the very young children into the tobacco fields also, because you didn't have to be too strong or too at past the age of 5 to pull worms off of a tobacco leaf.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, being that it was a crop that came from South America, I mean, I'm sure cultivating it and being at high value, but it was just the fact that people sought after to grow it and wanted to make sure it grew. They did have children and all types of slaves actually working in the field to actually maintain that crop. That was one of the hardest crops to maintain. Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it kind of was. It kind of was. But for that fact alone, that it attracts a lot of insects. You could imagine simply in your garden, if you have a garden, how your greens attract bugs and worms to chew on them. Elder Reggie, how are you tonight?
Hey, Sister Toni, Divine Prince, Brother Joshua, Sister Bianca, I believe, and the collective audience. I'm a little melancholy tonight because I'm just perplexed over everything. If we had all this stuff going on in America, why was one iota of African brought to this land? I'm talking those that came from Africa. Because once they got here, they was treated like crap constantly, wasn't fed food, worked all these plants, all these different things that they wasn't accustomed to. Why were they brought here? So if you transpose that to 2025, Charlie Kirk get murdered and the Africans are being blamed for it. The lynchings. You can't even say anything. I got 2 friends that got fired from their jobs. Can't even have freedom of speech from the First Amendment. What is going on? It's almost as if we are still in slavery. So many of our rights are being impinged on. We can't partake in this American system, never could, like other people could do it. And here this monster is rearing his head back up again. We do have African traditional religions as methodologies to help us defend off some of this, but people are not applying it. People are not using it. And so as they cry out for help and we see the lynchings, it makes me just perplexed, because you put down your plate of food for another man's plate of food and it's not feeding you well and you want to complain. But when you pick up your food, your diet, and do what's right for you stand a chance. But that is not happening in the West. And so we are history repeating itself. And right now I'm just at a perplexed place, because I do believe in the ATRs. I do believe Africans could stand on this planet just like any other ethnicity could stand and hold its own. And sometimes I have to question this God, why you even took one from that continent and brought him here to put him in hundreds and hundreds of years of recycled poverty and hatred. It just don't make sense to me. But that's where I'm at, Sister Toni.
I can truly understand it because I've been seeing stuff that I believe I would never see. One of the late night hosts, the second one, but Jimmy Kimmel, he didn't got
Yeah.
took off I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he really didn't say anything that I saw was wrong. He didn't say anything, and my thing on it was, oh, so Charlie Kirk could say everything he wants to say, and Trump could say everything he wants to say, but the average person can't say what they want to say. And you're right, it's like we going back into slavery. But this time
Mm-hmm.
it's the elites that's enslaving everybody. It's a caste system now, because it's a lot of white people that have gotten fired because of
Mm-hmm.
speaking out on Charlie Kirk. A lot of them then got their pages, they got kicked off of TikTok and kicked off of this, that, and other things. So far, I don't think Facebook messing with nobody, but I know TikTok and Instagram, people reporting getting kicked off of that. But I mean, history repeats itself, but not
Mm-hmm.
actually in the same identical way. That's why they say a rose is still a rose by any other name. You can call it what you want this time it come around, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still the same thing as it came around last time.
Yeah.
And the Constitution is being hijacked.
Mm-hmm.
It's a coup going on in this country, and it's a
Yeah.
coup not to dethrone the king or
Mm-hmm.
dethrone the government. It's a coup to take over and get rid of the Constitution. To
Mm-hmm.
get rid of the
But
Constitution.
Sister Toni, if they do that and turn the ties of the Constitution back, then that almost reverts us back into slavery, because it's only the amendments, the 13, 14, and the 15 amendments, that allowed people of color to be nationalized citizens, right to vote, and their humanity and civil rights respected. Because as the Constitution stands, black people was 3/5 human. So that Constitution did not ratify or stood for anything that we stood for. And it took these amendments. And they are playing with these amendments as if they are trying to repeal them. These are whistles that we have to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, they didn't repeal a couple of them. Obviously, freedom of speech,
Mm-hmm.
because they say they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna try to start arresting people for what they say. And a lot of people can't understand what was so important about this one individual. He was
Mm-hmm.
not a politician that was known. He was not a known celebrity, say like a Jimmy Kimmel or any other celebrity we see walking on a red carpet. People don't understand there's a shadow government behind Trump and them. It's something going on behind the curtain. The Wizard of Oz, it was trying to tell us. Trump is that ugly head you see out front.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk
Mm-hmm.
And a whole bunch of other ones is the ones behind the curtain that's pulling the levers because they gonna get rid of Trump. They just using him right now. Not J.D. Vance is about to take over Charlie Kirk podcast. That's to get him more familiarized. And I don't care what nobody say. I think he was sacrificed because in the days that he been past, the record they reporting the numbers of 37,000 people have gone to join Mega, in other words.
Yeah.
And trying to open chapters of Kirk's organization in cities and counties and towns around the United States, and he couldn't have never gotten that number by November of 26 for the election with him being alive and just talking. People would have still rode the fence. They wasn't going off emotion. People right now are going off emotion and they signing up. All of this is to make the
Sister
Trump
Toni,
numbers. I can't hear you.
No, what I wanted to say, I'm with you with that, because I think the thing that got Jimmy Kimmel in trouble is he only said basically Mega, the shooter was Mega. You can't even say that without being penalized. It just don't make sense.
Yeah, he was just saying it was one of their own.
Yes.
It was one of their own. I've been posting on Facebook because I didn't got in their algorithm all the other groups we got to watch. Besides the groups that people don't know nothing about, because half the people I know, over half, didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was.
I did not.
And the only thing I could tell them is, y'all didn't look at my Facebook page, because I report about all those things.
Yeah, he represented an ideology that has been the ideology that came over here in the beginning to colonize and take over.
That's that manifest destiny ideology of the white Protestant males.
Yeah, and that ideology has been fighting and battling with Black people, with the American Indians, with African American Africans, with the world. To be honest with you, and I think that we've battled these battles before. We've won them. We've survived them. We're living. We're breathing now, and we're gonna continue to fight them in the future. I don't think that they're wanting us to back away. They're wanting us to back down. They're wanting us to do certain things to provoke them to react. So I would say that, especially with what's happening, I was shocked by that Jimmy Kimmel show being taken down. I saw it and I listened to it and I was like, what is it that he said? This is like a comedy late night show. I said, but I didn't even understand it.
And they've been roasting politicians since Abraham Lincoln, and before that, they got old cartoon flyers roasting George Washington. So what is just so special about this dude here? They acting like people didn't kill Jesus Christ and talking about they didn't kill. Oh, and they got like 100 and some people then initiated bills to have streets named after him in their town or city.
Right. In the state of Oklahoma put out a text to their school that they had to do, they're going to do some type of day of silence in the school system with the kids for Charlie Kirk. This is just unfathomed to understand. Why is this going on at this time?
because he was a very important man. People don't understand his position. He had a very important position in the organization because without new blood, the organization would fold. You got to realize a lot of the Trumpsters are older. His job was a recruiter. And he done recruited more in debt than he would have in life.
Trying to galvanize their party now around a death.
But here go the
death
thing.
that was not even happen.
Here go the thing. They got people that oppose them. They got people with the same values as Kurt had, but is against Kurt and Trump because they said they was too soft. These people want harder and faster than what Trump is doing. This dude, last name Fuentes, his group.
Yeah, Nick, yeah, yes.
And they got another dude named Quinones. And I say, how all of these hate mongers got foreign ass names?
Yeah.
It ain't no John Smith. It ain't no Wayne Wright. It's Quinones, Fuentes. You know, but they got something worse than that, and they talking about going to war with Mega. I saw this dude from Fuentes do a whole sermon on going to war, and people happen to pick sides of who they gonna be with, and he gonna roll over the Mega. And he was an enemy of Charlie Kirk because he said Charlie Kirk was too soft.
Yeah. But Sister Toni, see, that's when it's white against white, it seemed to be middle ground. It's okay. But here, people of color didn't have nothing to do with none of this, but the most harsh punishment and the fallout continued to lay on the head and feet and shoulders of people of color.
Yeah.
I am telling you right now, they're investigating 8 homeless people shot, I believe, in the state of Minnesota. There's another place where because the people fought back tonight and shot them. These lynchings, there may be more hangings. How can a young man of 21 years of age with broken arms and broken legs hang himself? This is telling me there are people that's in our local areas who living in our certain income bracket who's getting these dog whistles and going out and doing these horrendous things. And I believe that makes all of us that have to be cautious and watch our whereabouts as we move to and fro. And this just is becoming a reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
We was driving and my daughter said they was going to Texas and some town they was getting ready to go through and they thought they was going to run out of gas. And she was like, oh no, we not stopping here. Because they already know living out there what town is what town and how the people act. And she was like, we're not running out of gas here. And thankfully, the Lord pulled them through with just enough gas to get out of those town limits. And actually, the Civil War, blacks ain't had nothing to do with that, really. That was white on white crime. Blacks didn't get thrown into that until Lincoln made the saying, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to free the slaves. And the South thought he was bluffing, and they called him on his bluff. Well, go ahead on then. And he went on ahead then. And that's how we got thrown in that mix. That wasn't that was white men problems. Just like this is white men problems. But Trump think he's slick by sending in all these military people in certain strategic positions. But you see what happened in Memphis, huh? They stole 2 tanks and had one of them Jeeps on 4 cinder blocks. I had to call Memphis, my people in Memphis, to see if that was real. And they said, yeah, they did it. So you know they're going to find out who they was. I mean, it was a gang of them, but they going to get them all. They going to kick in mama's doors and all this here stuff and cause more tension in the community. And they talking about sending the troops here, the people. Tourists don't want to go nowhere like they in a third world country with military men walking holding AKs while they trying to get drunk on Bourbon Street. They'll go somewhere else. You know, somebody mentioned where if you're gonna put them in the East, they could clean up like they did in DC, clean up some of them tires and stuff. Talking about the National Guard.
Yeah, that's what it
That's a good point.
But I mean, people got to pay attention. They got to do more reading and start asking, you know, other questions other than where them fans at. Because they got to know who is who and what is what. Because unlike a race war, we ain't going to be able to tell who is who.
Yeah.
When they get to fighting. And the only thing I've been telling everybody, may the odds forever be in your favor. Because we about to go into a civilization like that. They tried to tell us, the television. My mama used to say the devil ain't gonna do you nothing without telling you because he think you stupid and you not gonna understand what he telling you in the first place. But he gonna be fair and tell it to you, and then he gonna say, well, I told you.
Yeah.
And Hollywood been trying to tell us for years, this is what is going to be done. And people looking at it for entertainment. No, this ain't entertainment. Really, this is something you should be taking notes with.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of men.
I'm glad that we're like having this conversation because I know I have little ones. I have a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. And you know that they are like just focusing on friends in school and they're still young. These are topics and stuff that I still do talk to them about because I know that sometimes in the school system, they may just only talk about certain things, but sometimes I feel like it do take us, like people in our community or parents, to talk to kids about what's going on because a lot of kids don't be aware of things. They just be so into TikTok, Facebook, like all the other stuff and not really knowing like how many of our people coming up missing, like how many of our Black people coming up missing, the stuff that's going on outside the country, in the country with the president. And like you were saying, someone like Trey being found hung, all those type of things that I do feel like that kids should know. Cause I feel like as an adult, a lot of us parents try to shield and protect our kids from those type of things because we don't want them to go out in the world with fear, like scared to leave the house and with fear. But I still feel like it's still best to teach our kids these type of things too, so that they do know and be ahead of the game and be aware.
Yeah, because you don't want them to be fearful, but you don't want them to have blinders on either.
Yeah.
So you got to show them by demonstration. We got to be looking at our neighborhoods and start on that level. Like just being outside, going outside, spending a little more time outside, and looking down the block, just being extra just a little bit more vigilant about what you're doing. We can keep an eye on things that way as a collective. We'll maintain control.
It's gonna get worse before it get better.
Mm.
And then ain't nobody, our friend Trump over there in England and the people over there chanting against him and everything. Then he doing all kind of stuff he not supposed to be doing with the king, because either he don't know no better or he just a narcissist and say, I'm better than him, I'm bigger than him, get behind. He walking all in front, way in front of the king. The king following him. So, you know, the English people really looking down on how he's acting while he with the king and the queen, but they are in an uproar over there. And then this Israel stuff they got going on with Israel. Israel bombing places he not even supposed to be bombing. Like, what the hell wrong with Netanyahu? He bombing the safe
So, yeah.
places. He just figured he could do what he want to do. You know, and it's just a lot of stuff going on. But the show is really good tonight, and we'll pick up tomorrow. We just have to stay prayed up, keep doing what we do to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Try to advise other people on what they need to be doing right now. And what they need to be doing right now, I think, is learning all these pieces that's on this chessboard. And see where we gonna line up on that chessboard.
Yeah,
So
monitor. Get active in your local community, and go to community events and just be out and see what's happening. I would advise that. Try to get yourself connected to a community that's in your area, or with us, or what have you. And if you're in this area, yeah, the more support the community, local community has, the more power that we have.
And always remember, all skin folks ain't kin folks.
Yeah, that part too.
So I'm gonna turn it over to Elder Reggie to close us out. And thank
you,
everyone
Sister
for
Toni.
joining us. Go ahead, Elder.
Thanks for the pass, Sister Toni. Thank you for passing the Divine Prince. Excellent show again tonight. We appreciate you. Brother Joshua coming in with the wisdom real strong, and I always admire that. Sister Bianca, we are grateful for your presence tonight, and your voice was a new voice, but a good voice of reason, and we appreciate that. But we are a voodoo channel, a hoodoo channel, and I would like to say, even with all the calamity all around us, please just pour some water, some libation in honor of your kids, your mother, your family as they travel. These little tokens of gesture goes a long way in the spiritual world, which eventually comes back in the physical world. That's one thing that we could do, is the libation and more prayer. But before I close out, I'd like to read our announcement, which is our next new moon ritual prayer and application ceremony is on Sunday, September the 21st. And that location is 710 Cluid Street. It's known as the Cluid Garden. And this is a ritual spiritual warfare gathering. Because we are living in a tense time, those who can come, please come out. Those who can't come, try to be with us in spirit and focus on the mission that we are bringing forward. And all the rituals that are done there is for the greater good. With that, I say, lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. Man, we all in this together. We have to find a way to survive. With that, I say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Good night, everyone. We love you.
Good night, Sister Bianca. Nice having you. Come back tomorrow.
I will. Good night. I really
Good
enjoyed
night.
it.
what if I told you that that spinning masquerade you see there has nothing inside it? You would think I was crazy, right? Have a look again. How can this be possible? How can a masquerade be dancing all by itself?
Somebody's in there, shaking 1, 2, 3, and they tell it. No one was in there. You know, this is the beauty of voodoo to me. I mean, I don't know, people might say it's a trick.
Everything I was seeing before me went against the laws of physics. And I really couldn't explain it.
It shows how Africans are powerful, and we have to use it in the right way. You know, we just don't have to be scared of our own culture and history.
Those who practice voodoo believe that there is a visible and an invisible world, and that those worlds are intertwined. Death for them is a transition to the invisible world. So our predecessors